Back despite popular demand. It's part 2! Okay. Oh, oh. Eliana woke up and stretched out, relishing the tension her muscles had achieved. Sighing gently, finally going limp, the woman was trying to decide what to do. She had the day off from the forge, so there must be something else to do. Perhaps go in some of the other businesses and see what they have to offer. She had not explored much since her arrival on Avonfall. Sitting on the side of her bed, her feet touched the cool floor below her. Closing her eyes, the woman let herself feel the cold that was to come after stepping out of the building. Finally forcing herself up, the dark-haired beauty grabbed her brush and worked through the few knots while deciding what to wear. Tossing the brush on the bed, she slipped on some pants and a shirt before grabbing her boots and jacket. Walking downstairs, the Easter said, "Good morning," to Jenny Nancy, while sitting in one of the chairs. Music could be heard from outside, causing the woman to pause and look at the door. It seemed so familiar, and yet she could not think of why. Slipping on her socks and boots, the woman walked to the door, putting on her coat. Taking a step out, a gasp left the woman's mouth. A snow fell from above, and she slipped all at the same time, winding up on a tail end so early in the morning in front of someone she barely knew. Enraged the woman. The Easter was not upset about falling on her butt, for it had happened many times already. But falling in such an embarrassing way hurt in the soul. At least it hurt her pride more than her body, and the man's laughter was not helping anything. Her voice caused the pause and grumblings. She knew the man who had laughed at her. With a growl, Eliana shook the snow from on top of her head and looked with a glare in her face. The dark-haired woman was not a fan of such jokes. "I don't need anything from you," she growled, and forced her legs to stay under her while standing up. Whew! I need a drink. A bard does what a bard is. Although in the lighter side of things, normally Vantha would laugh off the occurrence. No, he quickly realized that this woman was no Vantha. Feeling Ariana's cheeks turn bright red, it was time to do damage control. Of course, this time I was talking about the other fine cheeks that likely might have a chance to be brushed up, you know what I mean? Originally, he had planned on creating a devious way to save a damsel in distress by creating that small water patch by the door. He hadn't expected the situation to go this way, and now the only result was a pissed-off Isur. Looks like Rouse has a sense of humor today. Just as if Nafio took some steps close to Eliana, he slipped in his own whimsical way. Most would figure that he did it on purpose, but it couldn't be further from the truth. As he slipped, his ass went straight down, and his legs kicked outward once again, tripping Eliana. If she fell again, she would land straight over the bar and on top of him, his head completely submerged in the snow. Oh, shit. After snuggling a bit, struggling a bit, and trying not to provoke the Isur too much, he simply laughed as his head came out of the snow. Soft snow attached to his long hair and beard. and slowly melting from his face. Eliana probably still on top of him. I simply looked up and smirked. This was perhaps his worst attempt ever at trying to get to know a female. But the bird is as a bird does. After smirking at Eliana and looking over at the massive pile of snow, he simply smiled and looked back at Eliana. Again. Hey, look at the brighter side of things! My ass is sore now too! He said with a devious smile, while turning to look at the snow again. Felt a strong urge, if you know what I mean. A very strong urge to get this female off from the top of him. Made him wonder if Issa relationships developed on typical man hierarchical standards like Bamsta. Now getting control of this situation will be difficult. We're trying to scramble out from underneath Eliana or away from her in the slightest. Issa grabbed a handful of soft snow and scrambled once again on the ice and snow and fell once again. Oh wait, shit, fuck. Let's rewind that for a moment. While attempting to do so, he tripped. No. Let's rewind again. He grabbed a handful of snow and threw it at her. Threw it at her towards her chest. Through her chest? I don't know. Now we're all confused, but that's okay, because we're going to keep going. While attempting to do so, he tripped and scrambled once again on the ice and snow and fell once again. Normally, it's the women who fall for him. He couldn't have been more embarrassed, though. He was good at hiding it. Isn't so bad. Hand, please. He wasn't sure if Eliana would get the game. Normally, children often have such playful fights in the snow. The Vanta usually got pretty competitive with it. They would use dirty tactics in their gift from Morwen to add an edge to the battle. Well, these two are far from children. Regardless, he couldn't help himself. If it was like he was a child again. After re-emerging from the snowbank, he was completely covered from snow. He brushed it like one of those pitching polar bears he hated so much. Oh, he looked like one of those pitching polar bears he hated so much. Pitching polar bears? Instead of brushing it off, though, he pretended to be one. I'm a snowman! He charged towards Eliana with open arms, attempting to give her a bear hug, if you know what I mean. He wasn't sure how she would react. She seemed fairly mature, if you know what I mean. So his childish antics might be taken one way or the other. Regardless, in doing so, he was left completely open. I managed to put the hug to the test. She would then attempt to knock her over once again, then the fight would surely begin. If not, B would surely be doomed to be the village fool in her eyes. And mine. Eliana growled at the man and yelped when he knocked her feet out from under her. Falling forward, the woman landed on top of him and about a ready to strangle him. Pulling her face from the snow, she coughed some and shook out her hair. Finally able to get up, the woman quickly moved away from him in case the man fell all over himself again. A growl escaped her throat when he tried to make light of the situation, then to walk away before she did, something she regretted. The woman nearly lost her footing on some ice. At least she kept herself up until something cold and round hit her in her back, making her fall once again. The Aesir landed on a snowbank and instantly glared at the man. Finding a rock with her fingers, the woman slipped it into the snow, packing the snow around it like it had hit her. Eliana stood up and threw it straight for his head. Holy shit! He tried to straight kill the man. Turning, the woman began to walk away, not caring if it hit its intended target or not, like a fucking swag lord. Either way, you would soon find out why Assyrian parents refused to let children play such a game. Eliana had been pushed to succeed as a child, so any dirty tricks like a rock on a snowball was allowed. Anyone unfortunate enough to get into bed with her always ended up running to the parents, crying. A sudden noise snapped her out of her thoughts. She did not recognize it as Epifanio. At first, her eyes cut to the side as she elbowed him in the ribs, and flipped him onto his back, stopping short of nailing him right in the face with her fist. "What is wrong with you?" she shouted to him as her heart still pounding full of adrenaline. Damn. Epifanio had a share of rough women before, but nothing like this Isur. Furthermore, the difficulty only aided his pursuit to lighten the situation and win her over. This is one of those guys where everything's a nail, huh? He enjoyed challenge, perhaps even more so than most. He strives for it. Without challenge and without conflict, stories were boring. Ain't that the truth? Life would be boring without it. This woman, though, seeing that she was just as dirty as he was, perhaps not in mind, but definitely in spirit. Epifanio liked it. After getting up himself and rising snow at her back, she retaliated. Not before slipping and falling herself. And damn, did she pack a punch! It was hit straight in the head with a densely packed snowball, and surely did it pack a punch. Probably shook loose some of his more inner desires and fantasies. What kind of guy wouldn't have fantasies? Either way, the snowball stung a little. Holy crap, this guy's a masochist. After pretending to be a bear and give her a hug, he was met by the swift elbow to his ribs. Alright, she wanted to play rough. Two could play at that game. He let out a slight grunt and simply pretended to fall down from the attack. Oh! Haven't you ever heard of the snowball fight? You're so beautiful. Epifanio smiled at her while grasping onto her boot the entire time after falling. His light touch encircled around the small patch of snow that he once again attempted to turn into ice. Cold sensation wouldn't feel more than just a patch of snow like normal, but that was far from the truth. Tell me, I heard a strange rumor that you were out to get me. He smiled. The ice encompassed her boots, which should constrict her to the ground. Well, if you want me that bad, come and get me. Epifanio was playing dirty, and before he ran off out of her reach, he once again threw a snowball at her. This time more packed and denser, smacking her right above her abdomen. A miss! Well, a bit, but not where he was aiming. Sharing a slight smile, he almost teased at her by turning around and patting on his ass. "I'll bet you can't catch me," he declared before bending down to pick up another snowball. Facing away from her, his ass purposely sticking up and purposely shaking in the air. It's getting saucy. It's getting dirty. I don't know how much longer I can do this. I won't give up. The woman glared and walked off, not in the mood for this game he wanted to play. Her boots suddenly getting stuck caused the woman to nearly fall flat on her face. Thankfully, her knees would not bend the opposite direction. Turning, she looked down to see ice on her boots. Yanking her foot forward, it did not budge, causing the girl to nearly fall to the side. Trying to think, Eliana was irritated to feel yet another snowball hit her back. It dawned on her that she had a knife hidden inside her boot. Standing straight, the woman crouched down and pulled out the weapon. Slamming the knife around her boot, the ice easily broke, freeing her foot. Turning down the man, the look in her eyes screamed that he was going down, and not in the sexy way either. "You wanna play? Fine, let's play!" Eliana growled out. She got plenty of snow, packing it hard and tossed right at his head, already making another by the time his first was around halfway to him. Once the first hit the dark-haired woman, launched the next, and dodged several that he threw. The girl ducked behind a bank and made several snowballs, making each denser than the last. There was no way the woman would let the man win this war. Spotting several rooks, the women lured it half with rocks and mixed them up with the non-rock-filled ones. After several ticks, she grabbed one and chucked it at the man. Chunked it at the man, knowing she had likely missed. After several ticks, she no longer truly aiming, there was no way to know who would get what with the what and to get hit in the battle now. Eliana had though the man was cute and funny and even amazingly talented. Yet after him laughing at her like this, she was some stranger, and the feelings had changed to anger. Sexy anger. There was no way of telling after this was over whether the two would go back to being friends or stay enemies. Wom, wom, wom. Epifanio was perhaps enjoying himself a bit too much. He was excited, and despite it being rough and perhaps quickly getting out of control, he was having a great time. As Aliana dived to the snowbank and assumed for his head, Epifanio bent over and was shaking his ass at her. As she was gathering snow and packing them, Epifanio started to do somewhat of the same. The wind in Epifore created crevices and banks of the snow where they divoted down and came back up to a rounded peak and slope. Epifanio didn't mind running through it. Mostly he was used to the cold, and the fun bee was keeping his mind off of it. That's right, the fun bee, not to be confused with the happiness moth. While running around gathering snowballs, all attempting to avoid the barrage of snowballs being thrown with a cute fury of anger. He simply went from location to location. Location. He was bouncing around the snow like some sort of rabbit, occasionally falling into a deeper patch as if a groundhog emerging from different holes in the ground. He used the snow to his advantage, but just as he was getting closer, a snowball with a rock which was tossed up higher than most arched and hit him on top of his head. Now was his chance to do as a bard does, taking a series of 10 snowballs. 10. He made while running around upon impact of the snowball on his head. He fell down and acted as if he was seriously hurt. He wasn't sure if it would work or not, but he just hid the snowballs and pretended to be knocked out from impact. His acting was easy enough. He just had to not move. If Aliana would approach, he would wait and study what she would do, and have her get really close. Upon which he would throw a snowball at once, Shivis feigned the consciousness, and then attempt to tackle her under the snow, depending on the situation. If she didn't approach, then he would still wait there patiently, possibly barraged by snowballs. Or not if she wasn't paying attention, and if she attempted to leave, he would pop up from the snow and barrage her with his balls. He made. A woman was panting while watching the man dart around like a rabbit, making more snowballs. She listened closely, waiting for him to start moving again. Huffing, the dark-haired Aesir saw her breath coming out in puffs in front of her. Peeking around the bank to see where the man had gone, something in her chastised her for acting like she was. Epi was not trying to make a fool of her, yet Aliana had carried it so far as to hide the rocks in the snowballs. Sighing, the woman just made regular snowballs, knowing she would have to apologize to him later. There was no just cause to her action. A sudden thud caught her attention. Turning, the woman saw him laid out on the ground. Gasping, the woman got up and hurried over to him, worried. "Eppie, you okay?" she asked, and knelt down beside him. "I must have thrown one of those balls with a rock in it. Oh crap, he was gonna hate me." The woman got up and started pacing, knowing if anyone saw him, it would only give them more of a reason to hate her. Groaning, the Easter began to hyperventilate some, trying to think of what to do. There was no way she could take him inside without someone asking questions. The forge was also out of the questions, as there was certainly too many people out in the main streets, not to mention all the workers that would be using the different crafting rooms of the forge. Taking a deep breath, the woman stood still and forced her brain to slow down. There must be somewhere I can move him until he comes true. But where? Eliana asked, looking at the snow, trying to think. She was totally unaware of the fact that Eppie could hear everything she was saying. Rubbing her face, the woman sighed out through her nose. Hearing footsteps, the dark-haired girl panicked and dragged him off the street with a grunt. Laying him down in the shadows of the building, she watched a couple of girls walk by, talking in their native tongue. The musical sounds coming from them still confused the woman to no end. At one moment, Epifanio was there, pretending to be dead, or otherwise, and at the other his eyes were closed. He could feel himself being dragged through the snow. During the process, his coat and shirt managed to ride up, once again, revealing his chest out in the open. This time, it revealed a little bit more. A deeply held secret part of him few ever had the luxury of noticing, though those that had seen it did know the significance of it. Across his pectorals, a singularly large, double-cleft tattoo. Most would just think of it as a tattoo for Snowsong Hall, though to him it meant much more. It was to signify his devotion to Raus, his God, his true motivation in everything, his devotion to ever have a passion for music. Of course, there was far more to it than that. The mark remained over his heart, which at this moment he tried to still. He tried to listen the best he could during Eliana's frantic state, but through her freaking out and dragging him through the snow, he wasn't able to make it all out. He nevertheless played along with it for a while, wondering what she would do next. A small bit of blood started to soak into his hair and stain the snow, though Epifanio had no idea it was bleeding. It was nothing more than a small cut. But given the extreme temperatures of Avantal, it flowed out with the melting of snow, becoming water from his half scalp before it finally freezing with the snow. Given the state that he was in the perfect position to see how she would react to such a thing. To see her true self. To see if she cared, or if she would leave him out there to freeze. Using a technique he was taught during musical practice, he started to breathe very slowly. A technique which would allow more breath to escape in song or playing a musical instrument. The slow movement of breath would only be recognizable if someone concentrated on trying to find out if he was alive. I wasn't just acting like he was dead. He originally started off by acting like if he was unconscious. As more and more chimes went by, he kept on the act until it was just the right moment. He was completely under her control and would follow along, continuing the act until just the right time. He could manage staying the cold for the while, enduring the torture of everything, just to find out what type of woman Aliana was, though he was determined to keep his act a secret. Unless... Panting, the woman saw the tattoos before kneeling down. Cold fingers gently touched the mark before spotting the blood. The color drained from her face. She had killed somebody! In a hurry, the woman locked her arms under his and quickly got him outside of the town. She left her jacket open, hoping any blood was soaked into her shirt and not into the ground. Finally, her body gave out, causing her to fall to the ground. Panting, she removed the large portion of snow before grabbing a tracker. I have to at least marry him, then leave. I can't stay any longer, Eliana said in a broken common / Izur. Stabbing her dagger into the ground in a circle, she managed to eventually get a hole big enough, but there was no way she could get any deeper. Putting her dagger away, the woman pulled him into the hole. Without it able to be deeper, she would have to chunk the pieces of dirt off somewhere. Looking, the woman decided to just use the snow to hide him. Pushing the ice-cold water over him, Aliana pushed it in, then got a good distance away, and used it to make everything the same height. Backing up, tears fell from her eyes. Panting gently, she wiped the tears away. She wiped the tears away. And hurried back, closing her jacket. Going in a room, the woman closed the door to her room by hyperventilating again. I have to leave, Eliana whispered. And so we conclude the part 1. Will Apifania realize he's been buried alive? Will Eliana leave? Will the polar bears eat either of them? Find out in the next episode of What the Fuck Is This Shit? A Morning Accident, Electric Boogaloo, Part 2, Mark 7. You cannot rewind. Goodbye.